What is that quiet person in the corner actually thinking right now? You're going to absolutely love this. We are breaking down the exact mechanics of the quiet mind, and trust me, it is entirely different from what most people assume.
So I want to start things off by asking you a question. Who is the most dangerous person to underestimate? Think about your workplace, or maybe family gatherings, or even just your friend group. Human nature kind of hardwires us to assume that power belongs to the person taking up the most acoustic space, right? The loudest voice, the fastest talker, the one holding court in the center of the room. But looking at the psychology and the source material we're unpacking today, that assumption is just dead wrong.
The real answer? It's the quiet observer. And we really need to bust some myths right out of the gate here. The quiet observer isn't shy, they're not antisocial, and they certainly aren't lacking confidence. They are simply operating on an entirely different frequency than the rest of the room. Their quietness isn't some sort of social deficit, it is actually a highly calculated, strategic advantage.
Section 1. The Misunderstood Quiet Observer. So, what exactly is happening in their heads while everyone else is busy making noise? The sheer volume of data a quiet observer processes is honestly staggering. While most people are moving through conversations entirely obsessed with what they're going to say next, the quiet person is doing something else. They're actively reading the room. They're catching every single subtle shift in tone. They spot those forced, fake smiles that everyone else misses. They notice exactly when someone's eyes completely contradict the words coming out of their mouth. They even sense when the energy in a room shifts before anyone can even verbally explain why. While the whole room is focused on output, the quiet observer is entirely focused on input. They act like a human radar, just absorbing all these micro-expressions to decode the room's true dynamic.
Section 2. The Heightened Observer Effect.
Now, why do they do this? The core psychological mechanism at play here is called heightened sensory processing sensitivity. Quiet observers aren't holding back because their minds are blank. They're actually taking in vastly more details, more variations in tone, and more complex body language than the average person. Think of it as an advanced data gathering system. They use this massive influx of information to process really deep internal thoughts and, crucially, to protect their own inner world. Framing it this way changes everything, right? It proves that their silence is a profound cognitive function, a clear sign of high-level processing, not a weakness.
And because of that, we have to totally rethink what silence looks like inside the brain. Silence absolutely does not equal emptiness. It's actually the mind doing its most important work by connecting hidden patterns. The quiet observer's brain is just constantly humming in the background, piecing together social, emotional, and behavioral clues that impulsive talkers completely blow past. When they're quiet, their mind is beautifully, intensely busy doing all the heavy lifting of observation.
Section 3. The Internal Filter.
Which brings us to the super fascinating contrast between how quiet people process communication versus the rest of the loud world. Just look at the stark dichotomy here. The standard MO for impulsive talkers is that they say things out loud and only then do they try to figure out what they actually meant. They're basically drafting their thoughts verbally. But quiet observers, they figure out exactly what they mean before they ever let a single word slip. This perfectly explains why a quiet observer's words carry so much weight. They never practice out loud in front of an audience.
It all boils down to a rapid, rigorous mental checklist, an internal filter. Before a quiet person speaks, every single thought has to pass through 3 really strict gates. Step 1, they check for accuracy. Like, is what I'm about to say actually true? Step 2, they check for impact. How are these words going to land with the people in this room? And step 3, and honestly this is the big one, they assess if it adds true value or if it's just creating more noise. Man, imagine if everyone communicated this way. Because every thought runs through this intense gauntlet, when the quiet observer finally does speak, people naturally stop and listen. Those words are never wasted.
Section 4. Power and Intentional Silence.
This level of intense internal deliberation naturally translates into a really commanding external presence. Let's break down the fundamental wisdom they've mastered. Look, for most people, silence is agonizing. It's an awkward void that we feel desperate to fill with chatter. But for the quiet observer, silence is their default comfort zone. It's where they feel most like themselves. They've tapped into a profound truth that takes a lot of folks a lifetime to figure out. Not every thought needs speaking, not every single moment needs filling, and not every opinion requires an audience. They choose to be private and observant out of wisdom, for sure, not out of fear.
Silence, to them, is not absence, it is control. Just let that sink in for a second. Actually, scratch the idea of absence completely.
Their silence is a deliberate, incredibly powerful choice. They are the ones actually in control of their environment, setting their own boundaries and managing their own energy, rather than just caving to the pressure of constant, meaningless small talk.
And the ultimate payoff of that control, it's integrity, not mystery. People who only speak when it's absolutely necessary carry this quiet kind of gravity that literally shifts the energy of a room without them making a peep. They aren't trying to be edgy or aloof, they're just acting with incredible consistency between what they think, what they feel, and what they say. Because there's no performance, and they never just fill space to hear their own voice, people intuitively pick up on and respect that deep integrity.
Section 5. Using your deliberate voice.
If you're tuning into this explainer and you see yourself as a quiet observer, I want to talk directly to you right now. Your silence is not a weakness. It is absolutely not something you need to fix, and you never, ever need to apologize for it. For way too long, society has treated quietness as this problem to be solved, like you just need to come out of your shell. But as the data clearly shows us today, your default state is a massive strength. You've got a level of insight, pattern recognition, and careful filtering that is exceedingly rare and hugely valuable to any room you step into.
But I do want to leave you with one final vital thought to challenge you a bit. Observation without participation is really just watching life pass by. You've already done the hard work, right? You've gathered the intel, you've read the room, and you've filtered your thoughts to make sure they matter. So don't hide that wisdom. The world desperately needs your unique perspective. Not loudly, not constantly, just intentionally. Use your deliberate voice to share what you see, because when you do, trust me, the world is going to stop and listen,